is Just So You Know Moments with a twist. Your host, Dr. Jackson Dean, the Pen Slayer. You ready? Let's go. Just so you know, moments with a twist. Oh, talk show host, speaker, life and success strategist, author. Oh yeah. I inspire, empower, and coach others to be the best version of themselves. Just so you know, moments with a twist. Are you ready?
Get ready for an informative show today. We have a special guest, Mr. Cecil Ivey Sr. with Cindy's List. And we'll be right back after these messages with Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. Mr. Cecil Ivey Sr., welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Please look out into the audience and tell everyone exactly who is Cecil Ivey Sr. and what exactly does he do?
Hello, everybody. My name is Cecil Ivey Sr., actually the CEO of Cindy's List Funeral Concierge. So what we do is actually reduce the time, money, and emotional costs of actually planning and executing a funeral. We do that by actually partnering directly with casket manufacturers, cemetery plot owners, pastors, you name it. So we're actually able to pass on that cost savings to our families, and we do it all using technology. So
Technology is a mean beast. I'm telling you, it is. Now, you said the emotional, and everybody, and I know this to be a fact. When someone passes away, you are not at yourself at that time. You are not. I don't care how much you prepared, how much you knew that this was coming. You knew to the day, to the hour that it was coming. When that day finally comes, you can't really accept it at that time. And so your mind is going through so much. What do y'all do? You say the emotional help.
Yes, ma'am. So essentially, we remove that entire burden from the families. So we talk to the funeral homes, we negotiate with the cemeteries, we make sure that everything is exactly in place like you envision it. But you don't have to be there. You can stay at home. We'll come to you. We'll, whatever different type of communication we need to have, we'll make sure that you can focus on grieving and not planning a funeral.
I think that's something that's very needed. Like I said, during that time, nobody's really at themselves. You got so many emotions going on and so many different things that you have to accomplish just for the service at hand. And like you said, you remove that emotional burden from the family. And I commend you for that, because that's not a task that everybody is just really cut out to do. Whether it's your family or not, it's not something that everybody wants to do.
Yes, man.
Now, when you say that you work with the casket manufacturers, so what does it mean? Because some of these funerals, I'm hearing people saying they pay $25,000 for a funeral, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it happens, a lot more than not.
Yeah.
So we're actually a source to consumer. We have a source to consumer business model. So whereas the same price the funeral home get it for, I got you. You know what I mean? So, definitely. We don't have a little markup on that, but not as much as, 300-400%. Yeah, so, but we
Can you believe that? 300 or 400%?
Yeah, easy.
On an item? That's crazy.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. So right now, we can actually get you a casket for about $850. You know what I mean? So, but it's normal for the exact same casket in a funeral home to charge $2,500, $3,500. Easy.
Wow.
Easy.
So if a family or family member came to you and they said, hey, we want to go ahead and plan this out now.
Yes.
Is that, what do they call it? Pre-need?
Yes, ma'am.
Pre-need services?
Yes, ma'am.
So they can come and sit down with you and go step by step. Explain that process.
Exactly. So there's actually two different types. So there's pre-need and there's final expense.
Oh, okay.
So pre-need is actually you going down to the funeral home saying, hey, Mr. Jones, we want to be buried here. I'm going to buy your casket at your prices, and I'm going to pay you every month. And then that money goes into a trust or to a bank account or some type of, well, it's supposed to be a trust. Or they purchase an insurance policy, depends. And then you're paying the funeral home. Final expense is a whole life insurance policy. You know what I mean? So you set your beneficiary just like any other insurance policy, but that money could actually be used to pay for the funeral, if there's some left over, pay your bills, so forth and so forth. Whereas with the pre-need, funeral home pretty much got that money.
Oh, okay. So with the pre-needs, that's if you want to go and order your casket, order your programs and service, maybe apply, or what do y'all do? A lot of people are speaking about the cremation services.
Yes.
Tell us about your cremation services.
So cremation, you have direct cremation and then you have a cremation with a memorial. So a lot of us, we tend to have a memorial, which
you got to already know.
So the viewing and the whole church, everything regarding the memorial. The direct cremation is actually they go from place of death to the fire.
Oh, wow.
I mean? So, but doing that though, you right. But doing that though, you're saving thousands of dollars doing it though. But you can still have a memorial without the body. You know what I mean? Maybe you have a large picture of your loved one instead of the body. You know what I mean? Or you go through the same process, but it's already taken care of for less than $1,000 as far as the body. You know what I mean? And y'all go home, blow up a picture, and have a party at home.
Wait a minute. So from $25,000 to less than $1,000?
Yeah. So $25,000 is your traditional burial. And so that's your casket, your burial plot, the whole memorial, everything like that. So
does that include? I know they say there's a different additional charge for opening of the grave and closing the grave.
Yes.
Seems like that should be standard. I mean, you got to open the grave and then you have to close it. So
exactly.
I'm kind of lost right here. Why that's an additional cost there?
Yes, so that's actually a cemetery cost. So depending on which cemetery you go to, their prices fluctuate based on that.
So do you have like connections or a partnership with all of the funeral home services or cemeteries?
No, ma'am. We don't have it with all of them.
Okay.
We do have definitely some good partners that we work with. But federal law actually says that we don't technically have to have them.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. So federal law mandates that families are able to select their own caskets.
Okay.
Funeral homes have to select or accept them. They don't have a choice. They can't charge you for accepting them. So go get your own casket. Save $2,000.
That was my next question. I'm glad you said that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but they have to specify exactly what it is they're charging you for, how much before.
So it has to be an itemized list of everything.
Everything. And if you go to a funeral home and you're not sure if you want to work with them or not, just ask for the GPL, the general price list. So it's like a menu. Every funeral home has a menu that you can pick from.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
They have to have it. If they don't give it to you, call me. But it's literally a menu item. Okay, well, I want this, but I don't need this. Embalming is not required. So you can actually, if they have, yes.
This is new to me because I thought everybody that came through the funeral home had to be embalmed. And
that's a funeral home policy. So in some cases, if the body is going to be stored for more than 24 hours, then you can embalm. Unless they have refrigeration. You know what I mean? I don't want embalming. Go ahead and stick them in the freezer.
Wow. And so that's a tremendous difference in cost.
Yeah.
For embalming and refrigeration.
Yes, ma'am. Embalming can run you anywhere from $700 to $1,700.
Wow.
Whereas refrigeration is what, $40 a day? Depending on which funeral home you go to.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way you can tell whether a body's been embalmed or just refrigerated?
Absolutely.
How can you tell?
Well,
look, I'm interested in this now.
Well, not only just from the temperature of the body, because you have to maintain the temperature of the body at 38 degrees, or or thereabouts freezing. So you can touch it just by touching.
Really?
But embalming actually, I don't know if you ever touched the body at a funeral. It's kind of hard, and whereas refrigeration is just your natural body, just go. So you're still a little mushy.
Really? Okay. So you have more palatable skin when it's refrigeration, and it's more of a hard type texture if it's embalmed.
Yeah, because you're
never would have known any of this. Mr. Ivey is schooling us today, y'all. So we're going to take a few messages, and we'll be right back with Mr. Ivey and Just So You Know moment with a Twist TV talk show. And we're back to Just So You Know moment with a Twist TV talk show. I'm your host, Dr. LaShonda Jackson-Dean. We have Mr. Cecil Ivey Sr. with Cindy's List here as our special guest. Mr. Ivey, can you please tell our studio audience the pre-needs versus the final expenses?
Okay, so typically with the pre-need, so you decide, hey, I want to go ahead and protect my family. I want to get everything situated so when I die, they don't really have to worry about it. Everything's taken care of. So your first option is to go down to your local funeral home, Dr. Jones Funeral. Oh, Dr. Jackson Funeral Home. You know what I'm saying? Go on there, Dr. Jackson Funeral Home. But they essentially have somebody on staff that they work with. So you go in, you ask for Dr. Jackson Funeral Home pre-need representative. So what they would do is actually essentially set you up on a payment plan. Well, what casket do you want? Okay, what type of flowers do you want? Do you want catering? Do you want such and such and such and such? Now, depending on the funeral home, they may or may not be able to put everything on your list. So a lot of times they only want to put the casket, or they only want to do the embalming, or they only want to put just the stuff that they handle on that list of pre-need items.
And so that's going to be from step A to Z as far as like bringing clothes and dressing. The funeral home handle this, but then they go get catering here, and they go get the flower in here. But you were saying with the pre-needs, you can order everything right there at one time. Go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly it. But again, the funeral home may not have everything. So we can set up pre-need for transportation from place of deceased, the dressing, casketing, washing, and just the stuff that they handle. But the cash items, a lot of times they don't want to put in a pre-need policy because they can't guarantee how much it's going to cost.
Oh.
Yeah, so the catering is actually usually something separate in most cases. But with a funeral or a final expense policy, that's just money. That's a life insurance policy. Instead of saying, okay, with the pre-need, casket going to cost $3,000, embalming $1,000, another $500 for dressing and casket. So you look at it, let's just say $5,000, right? Whereas with a final expense insurance policy, you just say, I want $10,000 and I'm going to use it to pay for everything over here.
And so if you have a final expense for $10,000, that's what the funeral is just going to cost.
No, that's cash money going to your family. It's a life insurance policy that will go to the beneficiary of your insurance policy to use for that stuff. Now, you want to make sure that your beneficiary is actually going to purchase everything that needs to happen, but whatever's remaining goes to your family. Whereas with the pre-need, that's funeral homes money. That's. Yeah.
But when you say a policy for $10,000, and I hear people are paying $25,000, that means they got to bring some money with them in order to get everything complete.
Unless they call Cindy's List. Right. So, but yeah, a lot of cases though. So
what do you mean? Unless they call Cindy's List, what can you do? How do you rectify that for them?
So our general process. Okay, so we sit down and figure out everything that you want to go into your loved one's funeral. You know, what do you want? What is your vision for the funeral? We present options. You know what I mean? Let's say I want a red casket. You know what I mean? Well, we know the funeral I'm going to charge $3,500. Well, I'm going to contact probably about 2 or 3 of our casket manufacturers and see how much they charge for red caskets. And we going to go with the lowest, best quality one. You know what I mean? So we just saved you $2,000 right there.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to find out, okay, so I want chicken wings, macaroni and cheese, and cornbread, you know what I mean, at 3 packs. Okay, well, we're going to go find 3 caterers and find out the best quality for the most reasonable price. So we're actually presenting options and solutions to actually reduce the cost. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to buy $4,000 casket when you don't have to. You know what I mean? When you can get the exact same casket, probably from the same manufacturer for a third of the cost.
I heard this family said they rented a casket.
Yes, you can rent a casket.
You can rent a casket.
Yeah, for about. Yeah.
So what happens when you rent a casket and they use the casket? Then what do they bury there? Because
they put you in a Ziploc bag, put you in the casket, they take you out the casket when you're done.
And then put you in what?
Put you in a cardboard box or something.
Oh my God.
Put you in a cardboard box.
No.
Yeah, unless it's doing cremation. Well,
see, I never knew any of this.
Yes, ma'am. When you're renting a casket, you're usually going cremation.
Oh, that's why they were renting the casket.
Yeah. You usually
because you're not going to eat the casket if you're going to do cremation.
Correct. Yeah, that's why they throw you in the cardboard box. Yeah. Right.
Now it makes sense. But you know, when you're not in that position, you don't really think about that.
Right.
But now it makes sense.
So what's terrible, though, is that the price to rent a casket, you can buy one.
Really?
Yeah, you can buy one. You can rent a casket. I think it's $850. You know what I mean? Now, prices vary based on the funeral home that you go to, but $850 to rent a casket for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
God.
And they just bring us $850 every time somebody go in there.
Just using the same casket over and over again. I mean, man, I don't know. Maybe there is a funeral home in the making. Whatever. Fine, foolishness. Anyway, tell us about the experience that you had with families. Can you give us an example of maybe one time that you worked with a family and how it went from step 1 to step 100?
Ooh, okay. So actually, just recently, just last month, actually. So we got a call from a family. Loved one was in old folks' home, transition facility, and they didn't have the money for it. I mean, they had already contacted the funeral home. They knew that the funeral home was going to charge them $2,800 for the casket. They knew that their family wanted him to be buried at the cemetery. So they had a general idea of what they wanted, but they didn't have a funeral home selected. You know what I mean? They didn't have as much money as they would have liked.
Right.
So what we did, we actually talked to the family, and we found 3 cemeteries in the area that they could possibly go to. I know that they wanted to go there with Mama, you know what I mean? But
and most families do like to be buried together.
Yes.
In a certain cemetery together. You know what they call a family cemetery.
Correct. And actually, you can start your own family cemetery, but that's another show. You can start your own family cemetery. You don't have to go to that cemetery. You know what I mean?
This time we're gonna have to come back.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead now.
Yeah. So, but what we did, we actually found them another plot. It was close to the family cemetery, so it was like literally a couple blocks. So it was close. We saved, I think, $1,500 for that. The casket, of course, we knocked down, found one for $850. Like the same model, same color, same material, everything, exactly the same. We gifted them the video tribute. Just to help out. I mean, it's like a $150 value. We assisted with the obituary creation. You know what I mean? We didn't charge them for that. So there's different ways that we could actually maneuver things and move some stuff around to actually fit within the budget of the family.
Absolutely.
Whereas funeral home, we got to have this because they got gold chandeliers and Cadillacs with.
So you're paying for their aesthetics and all their amenities that they have there when it's really not necessary. And you're not necessarily going to use it, but you're being taxed sort of for those things that they have to accommodate other people.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not paying for the memorial of your loved one. You're paying for them 2 brand new Cadillacs.
Oh wow.
I mean, there's just with any business, there's overhead.
You can still get something very nice, something very of quality, and something that's memorable, and then you don't have to break the budget all the time.
Absolutely.
We were mentioning about the inserts into the casket.
So the insert. So when you have a casket and you open the casket, there is a cardboard piece of paper, and essentially you could decorate and have any design that you want on there. But in most cases, the funeral home is going to charge you about $300 or so for it. Whereas we work directly with the folks that actually make it. So we were actually able to help a family get the customized one with mother in the front of it and roses on the side and little angels in the corners for about $120.
Oh, wow. That's a tremendous difference, especially if you're not working with a whole lot of money to begin with. And, you're able to cut the costs here and there in order to still get what you want.
Exactly.
We commend you for that. We commend you doing that. I think there's a wonderful service that you provide to the community. Yeah. Are you just here in the Houston area, or do you go out of the area?
No, man, we're actually in 41 states.
Oh, my, wow.
We're in 41 states. So we're not in New York, New Jersey, Alabama. But anywhere that there's a funeral home, we can actually have any of the products and services that we provide shipped to the funeral home of your choice, anywhere in the nation.
That's wonderful. That's a good thing to know. We appreciate that. We'll be right back after these messages with Just So You Know moment with a twist. We appreciate so much of this information that you provided to us. This is a great service. Could you tell us, what is your vision for Cindy's List?
So with Cindy's List Funeral Concierge, so we actually want to be the Black SCI, Service Corps International. So right now, SCI is like the largest corporation that owns, 2,000 funeral homes, 1,500 cemeteries, but we want to be like them, but black. You know what I mean? So, we want to work with black casket manufacturers. We want to work with black florists, black pastors, black, you name it. We want to actually do that. So right now, about 70 to 80% of our vendors are black owned and operated.
Representation matters.
Oh, yes.
So this is very important what he's saying. And, for us to have our own thing, because representation truly matters in every business.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of folks don't know that the funeral homes in their neighborhood are not owned by the people in their neighborhood. They're owned by corporations.
I did not know that. Because when I saw whatever funeral home or whatever mortuary, I thought, hey, this is theirs.
Yeah, they keep the name of the employees, but it's not owned by us.
Really?
Yes. So what happens is, it's different for each funeral home, but you know us, well, we'll pay you afterwards, and so a lot of the funeral homes get underwater and they sell to corporations.
Wow.
So, but
unfortunate, but it happens.
It does.
It happens.
So we want our business to bring the Black SCI.
But we pray that you're able to accomplish that vision and be able to bring Sydney's List nationwide. You already said you're in 41 states, but we want you to be as big as you possibly want to be.
Right on, from your mouth to God's ear.
Hey, put the prayers in. They say you have not because you ask not.
Hello. Listen, I already asked.
And we asked. We're asking.
Yeah, you hear that, God?
So we're going to take a few messages and we'll be right back with Mr. Ivey and Just So You Know moment with a Twist TV talk show. And we're back. thank you for joining us at Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. We're here with our special guest, Mr. Cecil Ivey Sr. with Cindy's List. Miss Ivey, please tell our studio audience exactly, if they want to get in contact with you, how would they reach you?
So you can call us at the office at 724-624-9297. If you have a question, you can text me directly for real. 832-443-6123. www.cindyslistllc.com. That's CINDYSLISTLLC.com. Or you can email us info@cindyslistllc.com.
You know what I wanted to ask you? How did you come up with that name, Cindy's List?
So when my grandmother passed, my mother didn't have a list of things that she had to do. Cindy's my mother.
Cindy's your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you name your business after your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
In honor of her not having the preparation, so now you ensuring that other families are totally prepared when that time comes. I mean, that is remarkable.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, all from a wig. So during that whole process with Granny, long story short, the funeral home charged us $75 to put a wig on her. A wig that we bought. We had style. The only thing they had to do was put it on her head. $75.
Wow.
And that started a whole $75. Well, how much we pay for the cash? And we started researching and then found out. Yeah. So it's no.
And sometimes that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's what it takes. So how do you get away from having that type of charge for putting a wig on? What's in the list does?
That's exactly why Cindy's List exists today.
And so y'all will go in and put the wig on?
That's it. But we actually partner with stylists that are willing to go put a wig on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
and it's not going to cost you $75.
It's not going to cost you $75. Yes, good. Yes.
That's good. But we want to thank you so much for being a guest here on Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. And we want to give you a gift for being our special guest today.
Yeah. This is some money.
You feel like that?
I do.
We hope you like that, and we hope that you can use it. And once again, we want to thank you so much for being here. And we'll be right back right after these messages with Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. We want to thank you so much for joining us today with Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. We want to thank our special guest, Mr. Cecil Ivey Sr. with Cindy's List. We want to thank our studio audience as well as our TV viewers and our social media viewers. Thank you so much for being the best part of Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. I want to leave you with a positive note before we go. You're more confident than you believe, more powerful than you seem, more wiser than you think, and more favored than you ever know. Thank you so much for joining us today at Just So You Know Moment with a Twist TV talk show. I'm your host, Dr. LaShonda Jackson Dean, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
This is Just So You Know Moments with a Twist. Your host, Dr. Jackson Dean, the Pen Slayer. You ready?